You're listening to the Weekly Wrap-Up on Sprott Money News.
Well, greetings once again from Sprott Money News and SprottMoney.com. It's Friday, November the 3rd, 2017. This is your Weekly Wrap-Up. I'm your host, Craig Hemke, and joining us as usual this morning is Eric Sprott himself. Eric, good morning.
Craig, how are you?
Well, I'm having a fine day so far, Eric. How are you?
Well, I'm having a fine week. I'm out in Vancouver, and I've been involved. Of course, I'm the chairman of Kirkland. I had board meetings this week and some announcements, and it's been a busy time. And, it's funny when you said November 3rd, I thought, oh, my God, the year's almost gone here. Wow.
Yeah.
It's been a fast year, and a productive year for lots of people in the metals area, not so much in the price of metals, but certain stocks have done well. So I hope we kind of close it out with a bit of a bang here. That would be encouraging for everyone.
Absolutely. And before we get started, I think a timely thing to remind everyone, as you mentioned, we are into November now and almost the holiday season. You can get the perfect gifts for your loved ones with the Sprott Money 2017 Holiday Catalog. You can find it online at SprottMoney.com. Eric, you mentioned finishing the year strong, or at least finishing the week strong. The metals have been resilient, really, here for the last couple of weeks. After coming down through September and into October, we've seemingly found some support at these levels. Gold's actually up $7 or $8 on the week. Silver had the biggest one-day gain of all of 2017 earlier this week, and it's up 28 cents on the week. How do you feel about things?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Of course, the big silver thing happened midweek. I happen to be traveling that day, so I've been very busy out here in Vancouver. And I don't really know the specific reason for it. I thought it might have been related to the new Fed chair or something. And, of course, the thing that surprised me most about the metals is you can see via the COT report, Commitment of Traders report that we talk about all the time, that the commercials haven't finished their work here. I mean, they've only recovered part of their shorts, and now we have this pretty significant rise, particularly in silver, where the short position is the worst, by the way. And very, very vulnerable. How'd you like to be short 400 million ounces of silver in a situation like this? And you mentioned the word minerals. I mean, there's been lots of minerals. I'm thinking of nickel and zinc and aluminum and copper, lots of metals, cobalt, that have had very serious moves here. And I think I even referred to it last week or a couple of weeks ago. There seems to be this move into real things where, maybe the Chinese can keep it together for another year. And if when you have the Chinese economy growing at 5 and 6%, you're consuming a lot of material. So these prices, it looks like people are moving back into the metals market, not so much gold. And that's why I'm not so surprised to see silver outperform gold, because silver is more of an industrial commodity than it is a precious metal. So it's comforting to see that happen, but it's the one thing that's not comforting is to know that the commercials, I think last week they even had to increase their shorts in some of these metals to keep the prices sort of in a steady state here. So they're going to be getting rather anxious here. So hopefully, it's hard to we all try to imagine a time when there's a commercial signal failure, and we're certainly seeing some tentative signs that I'm not going to say that for sure, because they can pull a rabbit out of the hat almost at any time. But on the ground, things look fine for precious metals.
Yeah, you mentioned that commercial short position, especially in silver. We're up to almost to 200,000 contracts of open interest again in COMEX silver. That's a billion ounces.
Billion ounces.
And silver's unique in that regard, in that if the amount of open interest in copper versus total annual mine supply is only like 20%. In gold, it's more like 50%. But yet in silver, it's over 100%, Eric. It's a remarkable thing.
That's the one you want to watch. If there's ever going to be an explosion to the upside, it should be in silver. And, it's interesting to watch that palladium price. It's getting very close to going through $1,000. It hasn't done it yet, but it's getting close. So that's another sort of industrial / precious metal that's sort of in this price parade that's going on.
Eric, let's talk about the news this morning and this week. We had the jobs report come out this morning here in the U.S. That's always the most, it seems like, hotly anticipated number of the week, of the month. And even though it was a big number, it was below expectations. And if you average this month and last month together with the hurricanes, we're only about 140,000 alleged jobs. I think the big news, though, was probably the wages, which were flat month over month and only up 2.5% year over year. What do you make of all those numbers?
Well, you're right to key on the wage growth because, I mean, I always just look at middle America and of course, the wage growth might have gone up 2.4%, 2.4, 2.5%, but the high end has always got a bigger increase than the low end, okay? And so even that's deceiving because it's really the middle class that has to support the economy here. And they're just not cutting it. And I just think of the Medicare premiums as a proxy, 38% average increase in Medicare. That takes care of your 2.4% wage increase plus some right there. Now you're already gone negative on the year in terms of your dealing with inflation. So not that I believe the BLS numbers, I don't. Because they plug in things that shouldn't be plugged in, but they're weak. The job gains, as you pointed out, the wage things are terribly weak. We had a survey in Canada, interestingly, that for the third quarter, it said that the percent of people getting a wage increase in the third quarter was 11% compared to 24% the year before. I was really scratching my head over that, like, that just sounds impossible, but maybe there's something going on where, all these companies fighting to keep their earnings up, they don't give wage increases anymore because there's hardly any sales increase, and you gotta fight it in the cost line. So you keep squeezing your employees. So it's not a good number. It wasn't a good report. I happen to be, because I'm in Vancouver, I was watching CNBC. I mean, there's 6 guys on there. They all had different views. They were yelling and screaming at each other. Right. Nobody understands this stuff. It was chaos. So, nobody could explain anything, quite frankly. So, and that's the way we are. The one thing we can explain, but there's no wage gain. That's the most important thing.
Right, exactly. Hey, the other news down here in the States this week was the pending appointment of Jerome Powell to take over at the Fed. For me, I don't see much difference. The biggest challenge I have is to come up with a nickname for him. We had the Bernanke and we had Mother Yellen. I don't know what I'm going to call this guy.
Well, we'll find out soon enough. Maybe we'll create something as we go here. But it looks like a non-starter in a way of anything dramatic happening. More of the same, which I think is very constructive for gold. Things aren't strong. Let's keep printing money. Let's keep rates down. It will, I think, continue this movement into physical things, which we're now witnessing. So I think of it as a sort of a non-factor, but primarily a plus factor because it's the same old central bank thing. And as I reflected a couple of times ago, when I went down to Jekyll Island and the building that we're in cost all the $40,000 to build, and it would cost $40 million today to build it. I'm just there's your fiat currency right there.
Yeah.
And even Bitcoin going up to $7,000 is making a statement about fiat currency. So I mean, our day in the sun is still coming, and there's still lots of ways to prosper.
Eric, I want to kind of close on I'd call it a personal note. I noticed this week you picked up a board seat on Noble Resources. I think you're now on about, 47 different boards of directors, something like in your retirement.
So let's put it this way, Craig, I'm staying busy, okay?
You're staying busy.
I always tell people never to go on a board because boards just suck up time. I mean, it's incredible the time that a board demands. But I was happy to go on the Novo board because I have a big personal investment in it. Kirkland Lake has a big investment in it. So I want to sort of monitor things from a boots right on the ground point of view. And there's been lots of interesting data come out on Nova. They put out a release yesterday showing the gold that was in the matrix, not the nuggets, but the micro gold in the matrix looked pretty interesting. So there's a lot of dots that have been connected on Novo that might support this which waters ran 2 thesis. And, of course, my own belief is it's looking more like which waters ran 2 +++. And which waters ran, I'll remind everyone, had 2.7 billion ounces of gold. they've mined about 1.6 of it. The rest of it's so low that maybe they can't get it out of the ground, but they know it's there. So that's been a lot of fun. Novo, it's doing well here. I might also mention Kirkland Lake because we just announced our quarter. The quarter was a little light on production, but we had some significant highlights. Our Fosterville mine had a record month in October, over 30,000 ounces. So this is a mine, by the way, when we started this year, our own internal projection was they're going to produce 145,000 ounces for the year. And now we're producing 30 a month. That's a big difference between 145 a year and doing 30 a month. So it looks really good there. We doubled the dividend. Now, mind you, it's a very modest dividend. It's only gone from 1 cent to 2 cents, but I think it's a bit of a statement. We're very happy with the drilling down at Fosterville, and I think we might have something forthcoming there. We need an update on the drilling down there, but hopefully that'll be forthcoming and look good. So the stocks reacted quite nicely to the earnings release. So I guess as chairman, I'm pretty happy with the way things are going there.
As a shareholder, I'm pretty happy with the way things are going there. So I think you ought to get back to work. I'll let you have the rest of the day off from here.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'll have that to look forward to. Okay, man. Thank you, Craig.
Hey, you bet, Eric. And one last reminder as we head out the door. Sprott Money also now carries Scottsdale Mint products in the USA. So if you're down here in the States, check out the SprottMoney.com site and order some today. Lots of reasons to be adding to your physical stack, no doubt about it. Eric, thank you so much for your time. We will talk to you again soon. And from all of us here at SprottMoney.com, thanks for listening, and have a great weekend.